Junior Kekuewa Jr. Show, starring Junior Kekuewa Jr.
You have no idea.
Join Junior along with the Wayne Borhe Band as he makes any kind from Hawaii.
Bruh.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Junior Kekuewa Jr.
Whoa, hey, Hawaii. Okay. All right, then. How's it? I'm Junior Kekuewa Jr., and welcome to the podcast. This is a Law of Attraction comedy podcast, okay? Because, because I'm known for comedy in Hawaii, and because comedy is dear to my heart. Actually, more than comedy, I was a voice actor for years, like 15 years. Voice actor. So a lot of people think, I was a stand-up comic or something. No, not at all. But yes, I was, I was a voice actor. So anyway, but hey, welcome to the podcast. First, the attitude of gratitude. We've got to say, mahalo to everybody tuning in. We don't have any new countries this week, same countries. So we're in 23 states and 52 countries? Something like that, 48, 52, something like that, because it changes. So sometimes, we get picked up by new countries and then we add and then sometimes we subtract. I'll tell you exactly what it was at the last count right here. It was at last count, 42 states, 56 countries. There we go. 42 states, 56 countries, Guam, New Zealand, and Turkey were the last countries that were joining us. So we'd like to mahalo them and say thank you. Now, we talk about manifestation and how to manifest on this podcast. And manifestation, if you really want ideal manifestation, you get it through affirmations, meditation, visualization, and vocalization. And this is what it takes. I mean, really, you have to put yourself there. So first of all, right, you have to see yourself worthy. If you don't see yourself worthy, then you're never, ever, ever going to manifest what you want. Because a lot of people they have that self-doubt, right? Really inside, right? The way they really feel about themselves is important. Now, I was too stupid, to think that I couldn't do something. So I just did it. I just went for it, because a lot of people told me, but Brian, it doesn't work this way. You can't do it like this. And I'm like, well, but this is the way I know, right? And they're like, no, but see, this is the way they teach it in college. And this is the way, And I'm like, so my uncle, who was my first mentor, right? He told me this. I dropped out of college. In 1994. And this is a side story. This is a side thing, okay? But I dropped out of college in 1994 to take this job, what I thought was a dream job. And it really was. It was a dream job in the sense that it put me back on track to where I was going or where I was supposed to go in life, right? And it was a job that, I took at a family of radio stations. And, the job was, I really want to say the job was like boot camp. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about a lot of things. It taught me a lot. And it ended with me resigning after a few years. I resigned. And then I took a job at this other, group of radio stations. And that's when the career went boom, like right through the roof. And, but I had to, you have to go through what you have to go through in order to get to the successful part or get to the better part or get to the good part, right? So you have to go through a certain amount of stuff. And I want to say it's a certain amount of learning. Because if you don't go through the learning part, okay, and somebody gives you something, in other words, let's say you don't know how to manage money. Let's say you're really bad at money management and then you win the lottery. What are you going to do? You see? So a lot of people, and this is why when you manifest, you can't go for the lottery first. You got to go $20. When I started manifesting money, I went $20, then I went $50, then I went $100, then I went $500, then I went $1,000, then I went to $1,500, and then $2,000, right? And I kept working my way up in $500 amounts. I went $2,500, right? Like that. And I went all the way to $5,000, and I was manifesting in $5,000 amounts for quite a while. And that just meant, for me, right? Everybody's different. So how you get $5,000 may be different than how I get $5,000. I was getting $5,000, manifesting that kind of thing from my wedding and party business. But what I'm really telling you is not a flex. I'm not bragging about the wedding and party business or anything like that. What I am saying is that if you're not prepared and God gives you something, you're going to lose it. Okay. If you're not prepared. Now you have to be prepared. So the preparation is affirmations, meditation, visualization, vocalization. Okay. And this results in confidence because it starts to calm. It starts to calm your mind inside. Okay. Now, when you're calm, you can make better decisions. When you're calm inside, when you don't have anxiety, you don't have fear, guilt, shame, all the monsters, in your head, right? Because your self-esteem is going to be higher. Your self-worth is going to be higher. I know these, I know these things because I experienced them and went through them in my younger life. I slept on a sidewalk for a little while, So it kind of cracks me up when I see these guys. Some of these guys, they grow up poor, right? Like I know this one guy, I know a few guys from the housing. And this one guy in particular always had to remind me that he was from the housing. I'm from the housing. I'm from the housing. Well, here's what happens. When you get stuck in that mindset, when you bring yesterday into today, and then today, you're headed for tomorrow, right? When you wake up for tomorrow, you're still thinking housing, right? From today. And now you take today into tomorrow. So here's what happens, right? On the outside, you're in the new place. On the outside, you're experiencing the new thing. But on the inside, you're living in the housing. So what happens? Well, my mom taught me this a long, long time ago. And my mom drove me by the housing where we lived on my island. It's a different island. I'm on the island of Oahu right now, but I come from a different island. And my mom drove me by the housing. She said, you see the condition of that place? And I looked at it. The screens were ripped. Like, I remember the cars were up on blocks outside. There were like junked cars, like right in front. Nobody kept the yard clean. It was a mess, right? And my mom said, you know what? We could give them brand new cars and brand new houses tomorrow. And in 1 year, it would look exactly like that. And my mom said that, right? And, I thought about that and I'm like, wow. And I did not understand it back in the day. And I was in 4th grade. And I remember that. And she told me that. And she said it would look just like that. And I said, why? I asked her, why, Mom? And she said, because they do not know how to take care of their things. And I thought, right, like back in the day, right, when my mom said that, I thought like, man, it's like, here we go again. Like she's trying to do this Jedi mind trick on me or whatever, right? But it was true. Because if you're not prepared, so when you prepare for something, right? We talked about it on the other podcast, fake it to make it. You go through the motions, right? So that's called visualization because you have to see yourself there. You have to visualize yourself there. So if somebody's not prepared, let's say, they never had money in their life, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, they win the lottery. Okay, those people are in worse shape after they win the lottery. Like a year later, maybe 2 years later, they're worse off than before they won the lottery because they don't know how to handle that. So you can't manifest the lottery first. You have to start small. So if it's money that you guys are, wanting to, manifest, right? You want to bring more money into your world, start small. Start with $20. Now, if you handle a lot of money already, okay, if you know what it's like to handle stacks of $100 bills, then go for like 500, manifest 500, then manifest 1,000, but I started small because I wanted to see if this thing worked. And I was testing this stuff, right? But here's the thing, right? So, when I actually started putting these things into motion and I started, really like, okay, well, we're going to do this, right? I had to organize everything. And what I did was I put it on social media. So when you Google search my name, you'll be able to, pull up Facebook and the vocal development school, Voicemaster vocal development. You'll be able to pull up the Junior Kekuewa Junior Roadshow and there's pictures and it's documented and it's there. a lot of people, are like, well, I did this and I did that. And I'm like, well, do you have pictures or what was it like? Oh, well, no, I don't have pictures. I don't, whatever. Right. And of course, you want to see some kind of like proof. Okay. Where is it? And in the old days, I want to say that there was no proof in the old days. We didn't have these things to document. We didn't have these things to put your work on. We didn't have stuff like this, right? If you go on YouTube, I mean, you can punch up my consultant firm and it's there. And all the jingles that we did and everything, it's there and it's there forever. Or until YouTube wants to, delete it, right? But I'm just saying, you have to have, when somebody goes, when I guess when I meet my grandson one day, and he goes, Papa, what have you done? What did you do? I'll say, well, just, plug the company name into YouTube and you'll see. Plug my name into Google and you'll see. That kind of thing, So, and all it takes really is focus, right? Because you need to focus on your goal. Now, today, we're going to talk about how I manifested the consultant firm, VMAC Consultants, okay? And how this came to be. Because I did not go to school to be a consultant. I did not go to school to, do all this kind of stuff. Okay. But I did have some really good private teachers. I really did. Here's how VMAC Consultants came to be. So the first, and we were tested by fire. Okay. But before I get to that part, I want to tell you the start of how this started. Now, my mom is always trying to get me interested in stuff. At one point, my mom was selling luxury homes, and she said, "Why don't you become a realtor? And then we can do realty together, right?" Now, at that time, right, my name was out there. I was performing. I was doing shows. I had the wedding and party business. I had the school. I had the production company. And we were jamming. We were doing a lot of stuff. I just founded Screenmaster Pictures, which is another company of ours, and AFM Worldwide, which was an entertainment company. And if you go online, you can see the website. It's actually AFM Hawaii Music, the DBA. And so it's there. So, our record company, we started producing recordings. Now, I'm doing all this stuff, and my mom goes, "You should be a realtor so we can sell luxury homes," or whatever. I don't know. She didn't say luxury homes. She just said, "So we can sell homes," whatever. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's going to happen, right? Because my heart wasn't there. Okay, now if it's two things I've always done and the only things I ever will do, number one, follow my heart, because your heart produces the biggest vibration, your heart chakra, okay? And number two, live my dreams. I got one life, Hawaiians. I only have one life. God did not give me 9 lives. I'm not a cat. Okay, but God said, "Hey, here, you got this one, boy, right here. Go with it." And that's what I've been doing ever since high school, ever since I graduated high school, because people came to my high school and they said, "You can be whatever you want to be, and you can do whatever you want to do." And then I was like, "Oh, okay." And that's all I knew. See, that's all I knew. And like I said, I was too stupid not to follow my dreams, right? I didn't know any better. There were other people that, told me, let's put it this way. There were not a lot of people that told me you cannot do this or that or whatever. But they always told me that, oh, this is not the right way to do this. This is not the right way to do that. All right, here's the scoops. This is how I manifested VMAC Consultants. So my mom gets a hold of me. And because she's always throwing these different things at me, right? And she knows like where I was in my life, and she knows I was performing. She knows that I was doing what I love to do. She knows. I was doing it in the living room when I was 7. So, so she knows, right? So, anyway, so she goes, "Hey, I'm going to this feng shui talk or lecture or whatever. The master is going to be there." And this was a Chinese master. He was a master feng shui person, right? And so she took me, and we went to this really nice, fancy golf course. And I go into, sit down at the table with her. And there's one of our U.S. senators was there. I don't want to mention names, but he was there with his wife. And so we were, this was I want to say upscale kind of thing, because it was very expensive to go. And my mom paid for me, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go. And, because I know my mom's motive already. She's thinking, well, there's gonna be something here that is gonna click, with my son, and will get him out of his delusion of following his dreams. I mean, I don't know. I'm kidding. I'm joking around. But anyway, so we went, right? I'm sitting down, and I am the Chinese year of the rat. Now, rats are business people. And and I didn't know this until I went, right? So I'm a rat, and I'm sitting there, yeah, I'm a rat, I'm a dirty rat, right? And so, so we my mom is a boar, okay? Now, I don't want to say pig because it doesn't sound good, right? But yeah, year of the boar, year of the pig, it's the same thing. So, and we get along real good, right? And so the master is saying, well, boar and pig, and the compatibility thing, like you guys are tight. And I go, oh, that explains why me and my mom are, so close like that, right? And he goes on, and he goes on, and he goes on, and pretty soon he gets to the rat part, right? So he starts talking about like us guys, like, so if there's any fellow rats out there, that this is for you guys. And so he goes, you know what rats do? They go out in the middle of the night and they get food and they bring it back in their hole. And I was thinking, like, do I do that? I go, oh boy, yeah, I do that. In the middle of the night, because I've always had a TV like mounted in my room. Like I used to have this room, I black out all my rooms, right? Because I sleep during the day, I work at night. And so it depends on, where I'm living or whatever. But I've always had like a mounted television in my room and, that kind of thing. Because when it's time to chill, it's time to chill. And, I have to, I hit the wall every 2 weeks and, I go, right? And then there's that one day where you go, I just cannot get up, and boom, you're out for the whole day. And that's the way I was working at the time. So, anyway, so he starts talking and I go, yeah, that's me. I get up in the middle of the night and I go get food, right? And I bring it back to my room and I'm sitting there, I'm watching TV or, doing whatever I'm doing. And I'm eating my food in my hole, in my room, instead of like sitting in the living room or at the dining table or, whatever. So anyway, so he goes on and he goes on and then he goes, and rats are business people. And I start listening harder. I start paying attention more, right? Because I'm like, okay, now he's got my attention. Now he's talking business, right? And then he goes down this thing. He goes, you guys are naturally inclined for marketing. You guys are natural marketers. And he starts going on and on. And, so I'm thinking about this, right? And I'm going, wow. Now, here's the side story. At the time, right? So I already had, it was Voicemaster singing school at the time. You can Google that and you'll see a whole bunch of stuff. And we changed the name in 2015. We re-imaged because of the internet and, public speaking and all that stuff. And we re-imaged to Voicemaster Vocal Development. And before that, we had a company called Imur Productions, and it was still a company. It was still a thing. And we were producing jingles and music and, that kind of thing, right? And what I would do is I go subcontract with like a studio and stuff, so I didn't have to build my own. I had my own home studio in the very beginning when we started the company, way back. And so anyway, but that was still there. So I had these two companies that we were doing. And so I thought to myself, wow, this is pretty cool. And then this guy mentioned the word consultants. And he said, you guys would make great consultants for other people because you have, this business sense combined with this ingenuity, combined with this imagination and, and all of that. And then he goes on to say how we're short-tempered and, and I'm like, okay, yep, that's me. And so, but so this thing goes on. So I get this idea that, we can expand the production company into a consultant company and be even more, incorporate more things and expand. And so that's exactly what I did. So after the conference and whatever, I thought about it for a little while. I had to put some thought into it. I did some research. And then I said, okay, we're going to reimage. So now, if you know anything about reimaging companies, if you know anything about marketing, that you need to keep up with the times. You cannot just, do one thing, leave it the same way, and imagine 10 years from now down the road, right? You're going to think 10 years down the road and you're going to think, oh, okay, like it's still going to be relevant. No, wrong. It's not going to be relevant. Times change. Everything changes. People change. Trends change. So you need to keep up. So here's the thing. This is what we did. First of all, we started calling it Voicemaster Advertising Consultants in the very beginning. And my attorney told me one day, he goes, this sounds like a communications company. It doesn't sound like a consultant company like advertising. It doesn't sound like that. And I was thinking, right, well, we're trying to have people find their voice in business. And that's what I've been doing like my whole life, having people find their voice, finding their voice in their life, finding their voice in music, finding their voice for, relationships and careers and stuff, right? So I've always been doing that. And, when I was life coaching, when we started life coaching, I was helping people find their voice. And that meant, finding their passion in life, finding their skill set, finding what they're good at, and that, to me, that's what finding your voice is. So anyway, we get, I go, oh man. And now this is why I tell people to take baby steps. Okay. When you're manifesting, right? And you visualize and you vocalize and you're doing your affirmations and meditation, right? I tell you guys to take baby steps. And here's why. Because I took a huge step. When I got out of that meeting, I thought about it for a couple of weeks and I said, all right. So I went to the bank, right? And I made myself a loan. And from my company, from the singing school, I made myself a loan and I said, okay, I got this much. I'm gonna start this company. And whenever I wanted something in my life, I've always started a business because everything in life is a business. And you guys got to think that. You have to put yourself in that mindset. Everything is a transaction and everything is a business. I don't care what it is. Okay, if you get into a wedding, that's a contract. That's a business. A marriage, okay, that's a business. There's a contract there. You're not contracted to her. The government's contracted to her. You're contracted to the government. The government puts you two guys together. Okay, so that's the way it works. But it's a contract. It's a business. Okay, everything you do with each other, okay, in life is a transaction. Okay, so I started looking at this stuff like when I was, I don't know, about maybe 28, something like that. And so that's the way I look at things, right? That doesn't mean I take, the personable side of stuff away. That doesn't mean that. It just means that at the root of everything, there's money involved. At the root of everything, there are transactions. So I went out and this is why, okay, so we're going off to the left over here, but I'm telling you guys, this is why no giant steps. So I went out and I contacted my graphic artist. I said, okay, we're going to do this. This is what we're going to do. Voicemaster Advertising Consultants, da-da-da. She sent me back the design. I got the design for the business cards, the stationery, like everything. I said, okay, good. Boom. And so she went ahead and did it. I okayed it. We went ahead and printed business cards. We did all this stuff. It was after I did all that stuff and after I went out and got the trade name and went out and, all of that my attorney goes, this sounds like a communications company. And then I'm like, oh man. So I looked at everything I had and I'm like, wow, I spent all this money on all this stuff. Now it's just useless. And so I, took all the business cards, stationery, everything, and I threw it in the trash. And I said, all right, if it can't be Voicemaster Advertising Consultants, I'm just going to name it VMAC, VMAC, right? Which stands for Voicemaster Advertising Consultants. So it's Voicemaster Advertising Consultants, right? I mean, but that's the abbreviation. That's the acronym right there. So we got the acronym, right? And then, all right, we could do it this way. So I'm like, okay, we'll do it this way. Now, this is one thing you have to learn in business. If you can't go down one avenue, you got to go down the other avenue. Okay, you have to pivot. That's what they call it. Okay, so entrepreneurs call that pivoting. And you have to pivot. If you don't pivot, you're going to get stuck. You're going to lose motivation and you're going to just dry up. Okay, and drying up means that, you're going to lose money, you're going to lose time, you're going to lose business, you're just going to lose, okay? So don't be a loser, pivot. Okay, so we pivoted with VMAC. Now, everything was fine and good and like, okay, now we have a consulting company, right? And this was like a couple of months before we got our first client. And so, and the reason why I'm telling you this story, I'm not flexing, I'm not bragging. I'm telling you guys, when you do affirmations, meditation, visualization, vocalization, these things happen. Okay. So the most unassuming thing happened. Okay. At my voice school, right? I was teaching this little girl and I had no idea what her dad did for a living. Okay. So we were teaching this girl and she was very, very shy. And I started bringing her out of her shell and developing her confidence. And her dad brought her a couple of times. And, I don't ask questions, whatever. And so, one day I was talking with her mom and it was just me and her mom in the waiting room. And my business partner was working with her in the studio because we took turns with the students and stuff. And he warmed them up and then I would go in and teach. And then, so we did it together kind of thing. And I'm sitting outside in the waiting room. And so I'm talking to her, right? And we're having conversation. And she said, my husband, he's having a hard time doing this, that, and the other thing, whatever. And I said, really? And she said, yeah, there's this union thing and they're striking on the sidewalk and they're protesting the store. And I'm like, I can't tell you what store. And they're protesting the store and that kind of thing. And I'm like, really? And she goes, yeah. And she goes, it would be so nice if he could have some help with this stuff. But, we're from out of town and we don't know everybody and, all that kind of stuff. And I said, well, you know what needs to happen? The local people here need to see that store as local friendly. So you guys need to do local friendly stuff. And I said, in order to, be local friendly, you guys just have to really cater to local people and really show them that they're welcome and really show them. And then on the political end, we need to get to the politicians and we need to tell the politicians or explain to the politicians how this happened. Now, here's what happened. This was a national chain, a huge store, okay, huge nationally, okay. And what they did was they came to Hawaii and they put up stores like anybody else would. They took the lowest bids. Okay, but they took non-union bids, so of course the union got mad and they put strikers on the sidewalk. So that happened, right? And this was, of course, down the road with that situation. And I said, well, the only thing that needs to be done is to, our slogan was bringing people together, making things happen. And I said, we just need to bring these people together, and we need, people on the union side, and we need people on the store side to see eye to eye and make sense to each other, and because they didn't know any better. They came to town, they just made any kind, right? It wasn't the kind of thing where you come and you see, in business, this is what you do. You take the temperature is what it's called. So you take the temperature of the situation, whatever you want to do, whatever you're going to do. So you test the market or you go into the market and you see what the market's all about and you understand the market kind of thing, and then you proceed to do things. But these guys just did what they do, and it's corporate, so you can't blame them. You can't really blame them. They just came in, put up shop, one store, two store, three store, whatever. And they just kept building and they kept taking non-union contracts. So what happened in the end anyway, so this, what I'm trying to say is that this was my first client, right? And so we were tested by fire. And I'm telling you, this was a situation. So I said, I'd be glad to talk to him and whatever. So we set up a meeting. I went down to the meeting. Now, at the time, and this is a side story, and this is why I'm going to tell you guys that college doesn't matter, okay? Because there was this girl, she had an MBA from, she had an MBA from this local college, and I was involved with this, with a certain organization within the college, and that's how I got to know her. And I hired her as an admin, right? Because I figured that, oh, well, she has an MBA. She knows about business, right? Wrong. Okay, so there's a big difference, Hawaiians, with book learned stuff, okay, and, people that actually have worked their way up. Okay. And this is like in the military, you have ROTC guys, right? They go in the military as lieutenants and stuff like that, right? But the sergeants, right, work their way up from private, and they know more than the officers, kind of thing, that kind of thing. It's the same kind of situation. And I've seen so many. In fact, we had another client, recently in the last 4 years that totally went out of business and totally screwed themselves in the ground because, one of their kids took over and, well, yeah. And I saw it before. And there was this one girl that we met along the journey, right? A long time ago, before VMAC was a thing. And she was she came home with an MBA, and she wanted to take her parents' little successful Chinese restaurant and make a chain of fast food Chinese restaurants and be the first, Chinese fast food outlet. And I was like, okay. And it sounded good. So we were hired to make the jingle. I made the jingle. We graciously did business with them. And before too long, they went out of business. And that included the original restaurant that was successful because it was pulled down by this MBA kid that went to school. And, it was just, it is what it is. No judgment. I'm just saying it is what it is. That happens. So I hired this girl as my admin. So the night before the meeting, and she did a couple of things, and I was like, it was neither here nor there, The thing that kind of set red flags off to me was that she would show up at, Starbucks meetings with dirty hair, and like she was a good looking girl, but she just came all unkept and whatever, and I even had her had a meeting with my mom to have my mom try to help her in business and, make connections and whatever and help her out. And that didn't work. I mean, I don't know. I think my mom, I don't know. I think she kind of like, she wasn't on board. She saw stuff that I didn't, and I found out later, right? Because so this is later, the day before the meeting, I had been asking this girl for content. I just wanted content, right? I just wanted her to write up some facts and figures about this, that, and that. And I gave her the list. And the day before the meeting, this was a Wednesday. I had the meeting scheduled on Thursday. I'll never forget it. Because we came, we got the client, right? But Wednesday, I said, well, do you have everything prepared and whatever? And she goes, well, I don't know exactly like what you want. And I repeated, right, what I wanted. And then she said, well, how much do I get paid for this? And I said, well, it depends on how much you do, right? Because if you're you're preparing a report for me. If the report is 5 pages, okay, that's one price. If the report is 25 pages, then of course you get more. And so I, make a long story short, I said, well, I was figuring a few $100s to prepare the report and everything and have it ready for the meeting tomorrow morning. And she was supposed to be at the meeting the following day. So, so what had happened was, right, she tried to basically jack me before the meeting because it was a huge account. It was a national chain, right? Now, we did things with that national chain, like, get local merchandise into the stores, and we made people some money, with their products and stuff, right? I can think of one local company that we got in the door, and they're still in there making money till today. But the thing was, like, there's such a thing as being street smart and knowing when somebody's jacking you, right? And so I told her, you know what, never mind then, right? And I disconnected. And anyway, so she went on her merry way with her MBA, right? Never amounted to anything or whatever, right? And so that didn't amount to anything. And then the next day I'd go in, and so I called up this other girl that I knew. And she was a student of mine. And I said, hey, you want to do some admin work? And she's like, okay, uncle. I mean, and she was so cool. And she goes, okay. And so so I paid her. I started paying her, and I said, okay, this is what I want. This, and just make notes and take notes. She's like, okay. And she came to meetings with me and took notes. And that's all I wanted. And she would take the notes. She would give them to me. I would assimilate everything and, write it down and keep records and stuff like that. And so there was a lot of administrative work that I was doing in the office. Like I would go in the office like early in the morning. I'd be pounding out stuff and making files and keeping track and things like that. So anyway, but that alone, right? Like jacking somebody right before, because she saw, she had dollar signs in her eyes and stuff like that. And so now I was like, very, I want to say nervous, because I was like, oh crap, now I'm walking into the meeting empty-handed, right? It's just me, my admin, and her notepad, right? So, all right, but fast forward, everything went well, but now we had this big situation on our hands, all right? So we had the local union with their people like striking on the sidewalk, right? They're picketing this store, and on all islands, okay? So this is throughout Hawaii. There were 17 stores at the time, and these guys are, they're not budging because, this store chain is not, they're not hiring union, or they hadn't hired union up until that time. And so we started to get to work. And what we did was we worked closely with the local politicians. We brought events into the chain of stores, and we started creating a local friendly environment. We gave away prizes, like tons of prizes. And this was all in the plan, because you have to get on the good side of local people. I mean, I suppose it's that way everywhere. I mean, you gotta, you gotta give. You have to give, right? So we started giving, and that was the plan. All right, let's just give. And the merchants were happy because people got their products. They got to try and sample their products. So they would give products. We would give them away out in the parking lot and have an event. And we set up music, and we brought entertainers, and we had somebody, making we had vendors that we brought in to make cotton candy. We had vendors that came in and did face painting and all that kind of stuff. And we just made it a huge event, and we did many events. And the idea behind the event was to bring the people in, and so now that this, national chain is local friendly, it's easier to work with. Well, so we were tested by fire because it was a very sensitive situation. One of the representatives, state representatives who passed away, is no longer here. He kept me on the phone for 45 minutes going, hey, you're going to jeopardize the governor. You're going to put the governor in jeopardy with the union. And I'm like, so I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not going to get into detail, but I'm throwing this out there to underline the sensitivity of this whole thing. It was very sensitive, because the governor was like good friends with the union boss that was, ordering these strikes. And so you have to understand that when a big boy like that, or a big box, we can say that, comes to town, right? There is such a thing as, you have to play by local rules, or you're not going to be like local friendly. It's just that way. I mean, so business is not done in Hawaii like it's done in California and New York and Chicago. It just does not work that way. So, and because we're an island community, unions are important because they provide benefits. We have families. We're all about, each other. And so it's very different in Hawaii. The environment is different than it is in the mainland. And so anyway, we proceed with this stuff. So we were tested by fire. That was our first client. And that first client provided enough business for us that for the first 6 months, that was our focus, just that client. Now, this client went for 3 years, okay? We worked on this project for 3 years. And the highlight, or let's say the crescendo of everything with this client, was in 3 years, they built their flagship store, okay? Now, it's no longer here. They shut down. But at that point, right, they built the flagship store. Now, when they put out bids for the flagship store, okay, because of everything, right? They got all these bids submitted, so they selected the union contractor. The union contractor calls the union and say, hey, we took the contract, they gave us they accepted our bid, so we're going to build a store. And that settled that. And you can't imagine how happy I was, like after 3 years, like, wow, like finally, And so it was a big celebration. Now, the district manager guy that my boss, the guy I answered to, right? He got promoted to over 600 some odd stores in Seattle. Okay. And we had worked together like very, I want to say, very hard. It wasn't. I wouldn't say hard. I would say consistently. We were on it. I mean, it was a consistent thing. It was something that you always. It was something that I went to bed at night thinking about, like how are we going to do this? What are we going to do with that? How are the dynamics going to fit into this, that, and the other thing? And but we did it in such a way that we did not put the governor in jeopardy. We did it in such a way that we did not, put the store chain in a bad situation. We actually brought everybody together and we made things happen in such a way that everyone was, I want to say, happy because, on the store side, they were happy because now the strikers got pulled off the sidewalk. On the other side of the fence, right, they were happy. The union was happy because now the store's doing the right thing. And we had such a celebration at that moment. So they flew down. So here's a side story. They flew down this lady from Chicago, from the Chicago head office, main office. And so it's corporate office. And she comes down, right? And she's the event coordinator, I think, supervisor, whatever it was, for the entire company. So every time this store had a major event at one of their stores throughout the country, she was there. And she was there supervising. She was there, to see like, okay, what can we provide for you guys and whatever. And so my job, and, part of my job anyway, was to set up all the vendors, have all the vendors come in, set up all the tables, set up all the chairs, set up everything, right? And in addition to getting merchants into the store and, helping to project a local friendly thing, right? So at the events, like I handled all the logistics and, all right, let's bring in the, hire the guy with the party company that brings the tables and chairs and tents and whatever, all of that. And so she came up to me and I'm standing there in my blazer, right? And I'm overseeing the delivery guys bring in all this stuff. And she comes up to me and I forgot what question she asked me, but she asked me a question like, okay, do we have is this all going to be set up on time or whatever? And I said, yeah, don't worry. Everything's going to be fine. And then she asked me another question and I answered that question. Then she asked me another question and I looked at her and I said, if the district manager, and I mentioned it, I called him by name. I'm not going to use names on the podcast, but I said, if Mr. So-and-so wants it to snow on Keamoku, tomorrow, Keamoku was the name, Keamoku is the name of the street that the store was on. I said, if Mr. So-and-so wants it to snow on Keamoku Street tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., it's my job to figure out how to make that happen. And she looked at me with the warmest look, right? And she gave me a hug and she said, thank you so much, right? And I was like, and that's those are the little things that matter, Hawaiians. Those are the things that matter. Okay. Now, after that, of course, after that happened and, the district manager got promoted to this, huge Seattle position and whatever, and went back to North America and, very happy and promoted and making more money and all that stuff. And so we branched out and did other things and took on other clients for other purposes. And we still had clients that were in that major chain, making money in that major chain. But the bottom line of all of this, right, is that when I was writing my affirmations, when I was doing my meditation, when I was doing my visualization and vocalization, okay, it was all aimed like at one area. So it was all it was all directed at, okay, this is going to be, a successful consulting company. This is going to, whatever. And I can tell you, you can look this up on Facebook. If you look for VMAC consultants on Facebook, you'll see it all. If you look on VMAC consultants on Instagram, everything is documented. All these different things, all these different clients, all throughout the years. But like I said, this is not a flex. I'm saying this so that you can do it too. I'm saying this so that when you set out to do something, you don't forget to do affirmations. You don't forget to put a vibrational timeout in your day, meditation. Okay, visualization. First of all, you have to see yourself worthy. Then you have to see it in your mind. Okay, like I had to see myself in the suit, standing there making things happen. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, sometimes because I was an entertainer, because I had a wedding and party business, we provided entertainment. So sometimes, I was standing on the stage singing, right? And the things that I was coordinating were happening around me. The guys were coming and, doing the shave ice, and I had somebody over here doing cotton candy and what. And this was all happening around me. I was singing, and it looked like they just hired me to sing. When in actuality, I was actually supervising from this stage while I was singing. I was checking out like, hey, how's the cotton candy thing doing? How's the shave ice? And I'm looking around and I'm watching everybody. But I'm on the stage responsible for what was happening around me, which was kind of really cool, right? And working closely with the store people to like, hey, do you guys, is everything okay? You guys all right? I mean, because they're a client and you have to take care, right? So I'm like, oh, is everything going okay? Everything good, And I would help with some of the store things as well. So, just help out because you're there, you help out. That's local style, you help out. So whatever had to be done, rubbish had to be taken out. Oh, grab the bag, take it out. I mean, whatever needed to be done, you do. But I'm telling you, when you start doing your affirmations and your meditation, visualization, vocalization, you get better manifestation. And who would have thought that my first client, the biggest client, right, a national chain, would have come out of my singing school? It was right there in front of me all the time. All I did was decide to commit. And this is why I tell you guys, when you commit to something, right, it just happens. Because, whatever you want to call, whatever your higher power, your higher self, God, whatever you want to say, God, if you want to say Jesus Christ, Allah, whatever your higher power, your higher self. But when you make the commitment and you go, okay, well, we're going to do, A, B, C, D, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, or yeah, this is going to be good, and whatever. I'm going to commit to this. Like I told you guys about the Waikiki show, right? It was only when I signed the contract that the money came to support it. I didn't know how. The how is not my job. The how is God's job. Always remember that. The how is God's job. So did we have good clients after that client? Oh, yeah. We had terrific clients. We still have good clients. VMAC Consultants is still advertising, and we have wonderful clients and good relationships, but this is how it started. This was and how it started was, it was just that simple of my mom going, hey, come with me to this thing. It's going to be good for you. Just come, and I just went up to the feng shui thing, and the rest, as they say, is history. So it doesn't take, sometimes, right? It doesn't take a degree in college. It definitely doesn't take a degree in college, but it doesn't take like a major thing. All it takes, Hawaiians, is a step. Take that one baby step forward and the next baby step forward, because that big client that started everything with the company, because the company had nothing. We had no clients. Right. And we were trying to figure out. And so we were in that process. In that first 2 months, we were trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to get this thing going? Right. And I took the baby step of having the conversation with the district manager's wife. And that led to one thing, to the next thing, to the meeting, to the, you see, to all the way down 3 years later to the flagship store and the district manager gets over 600 stores under his belt in a promotion. Okay, and I got paid handsomely. I got paid well. They paid me well. They took care of me, everything. So it was a win for me. It was a win for the district manager. It was a win for the union. It was a win for the politicians. It was a win for everyone. It was like boom, 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 boom. Win, win, win. And that's the way you have to work a business. That's the way you have to do a job. That's the way you have to do your life. Okay? So I'm telling you, affirmations, meditation, visualization, vocalization, because the last thing you want is oh, sorry, I gotta go, Hawaiians. I gotta go, Hawaiians. Oh, man. Anyway, but yeah, no, for real. Do your affirmation, your meditation, visualization, vocalization, and it will happen for you. I guarantee you, I've done it. It's a thing. Hey, want to thank our sponsors, Brother Randy, Sister Jerry at Island Club and Spa, my favorite, out there in Kaka'ako. Also, Voicemaster family of service companies and AFM Hawaii Music, featuring the music of Darren Chinen. It's at afmhawaiimusic.com. Till next time, I am Junior Kekuewa Jr. saying, hey, love each other, keep smiling, keep doing your affirmations, meditation, visualization, and vocalization, and you can do anything. Until next time, I'm Junior saying mahalo and aloha.